All right, back again on what I have discovered is the 11th episode of The Wanderer, which is kind of crazy. We're actually getting somewhere here. Today will be on the 48 Laws of Power. Actually, I just ripped my book like 20 minutes ago. I don't know if you can see it from way over there, but this is a book by Robert Greene. He has a few other good books. I'm not seeing them on the back here. He's got Mastery, The Laws of Human Nature, The Daily Laws, The 33 Strategies of War, and The Art of Seduction. So if you want to get into Robert Greene, that's where you'd be looking. Just the cover, which I actually love the cover of this book too. This book looks nice, but before we get into this, it's important to really clear your mind of all pretenses and preconceptions that you have of this book, of power, of, we'll say, good and evil. Like, really just try and hollow yourself out to understand this perspective, because it will seem cynical and evil and, untrustworthy. It'll seem like a lot of things at first, but there's value in all of these laws, and they exist and are being acted out somewhere, and you don't want it to be on you. That's ultimately one of the best things to take out of this book, is just to realize that a lot of people play these games and a lot of people use these laws to exert power over others and to attain power over others, and it's just important to see. So we'll hop right into it with law number 1. Never outshine the master. So I'm not going to go in the book itself. It has the chapters are very well put together. It'll have like an example of when this happened, how it happened, the reversal of it, the interpretation, everything. So this book is very well put together as an entirety, but for the sake of not having a 5-hour long podcast, I'm just going to read there's like a paragraph describing each law, and then we'll go into it a little bit on how it works in the world, because I think it also kind of draws like a necessity for interpretation. So, law number 1, never outshine the master. Always make those above you feel comfortably superior. In your desire to please or impress them, do not go too far in displaying your talents, or you might accomplish the opposite. Inspire fear and insecurity. Make your masters appear more brilliant than they are, and you will attain the heights of power. Now, so this is, I think there's a saying about this too. It's like the tallest, I don't know what it is. It's some sort of plant, but essentially the one that grows the tallest is the one that is cut first, right? The tallest flower gets plucked first, or something like that, right? And this actually is beneficial, because sometimes you don't want the people who have more power than you to feel like they're less than you, because they're going to use that power to try and level the playing field. And I mean, it's pretty simple. It expands into a lot of different environments and situations, but like try and look at that from the reversed side. If you're someone if you don't feel like you see this law, or you don't feel like you understand it, look at it from the side of, are there people with more power than you who try and make you feel less than you are? And that's probably because you're outshining them, and they feel like they're more than you, so they're going to try and use that power against you, which isn't where you want to be. So sometimes playing yourself down can bring you up in how you need. You just don't need that conflict and that tension and that friction. You have bigger dreams than your master. It's not about them or your boss, or whatever it is. Whoever's in your way, essentially, is whoever's right above you on whatever ladder you're climbing. It's not always about getting them. It's not always about them. There's other ways to get to the top of the ladder. So, law number 2, never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Be wary of friends. They will betray you more quickly, for they are easily aroused to envy. They also become spoiled and tyrannical. But hire a former enemy, and he will become more loyal than a friend, because he has more to prove. In fact, you have more to fear from friends than from enemies. If you have no enemies, find a way to make them. So this is in the use of friends and enemies. It's like this is like when you're forced to be around people. So this is like work, or let's say school, right? So you're forced to be around people, and then you make friends with them. Like real friends are when you live by yourself and you don't work at the same place and you don't go to school at the same place and you still make time to see each other. That's what real friends are, because you're making a clear desire for the person that you're trying to see or trying to hang out with or whatever it is. But when people are forced together, they're forced to do one of two things, which is become friends or to dislike each other and just be enemies, right? And so that's what this end part means. If you have no enemies, find a way to make them, because oftentimes if you don't think you have enemies, it's because they just won't show it to your face, right? So, and in that same way, your friends aren't necessarily like your friends, because they're only friends with you because they're forced to be around you. You know, they wouldn't go too much out of their way to really be a good person in your life or a good influence in your life. So, and you never know the strings that they have the access to pull to, maybe take an advantage on you. Or maybe if it makes them seem better, they'll be willing to talk badly about you in a situation and then, still be friends with you, which is not obviously not the kind of friend you want to have around. So absolutely be wary of friends. And then if someone does you wrong, it sounds bad, but it's like, don't hold it against them, but know that like if you're at odds with somebody, they're going to respect you to a degree that your friend might not feel, that they might not feel as necessary, right? Friends get it, just like they said, they get spoiled and tyrannical, and so they get comfortable. They start to kind of use your things and kind of treat you like they would just something to be used and not really a person. But your enemy will always respect you and respect you as a boundary, as something not to contend with or be around. So note the difference there and understand you don't have to be friends with everybody. And it's okay to be enemies with people that you don't like, because at least they'll respect you. Law number 3, conceal your intentions. Keep people off balance and in the dark by never revealing the purpose behind your actions. If they have no clue what you're up to, they cannot prepare a defense. Guide them far enough down the wrong path, envelop them in enough smoke, and by the time they realize your intentions, it will be too late. So this is just like a strategy of, this is a very simple strategy of power. And so this is like in a war, let's say. If you need to cross enemy territory, right? Let them think that you're going to do it a way that you're not going to do it, right? So let them think you're going to use, planes and you're going to fly over, or you're going to, use 4x4 cars and you're going to take the fastest highway. But really you're taking the trains or something like that. Like, conceal your intentions and be upfront in a way that misleads them and guides them off the wrong path. And so it's like in fighting, I do some combat sports, I do some boxing, and so in fighting it's like, that's like, maybe the 8th round comes around and you see he's a little bit tired, maybe I pretend to be tired, and I make it seem like I'm all tired, and then I just pick the pace up on him and come at him, and all of a sudden he won't know what to do because he thought I was tired as well, and he got a little comfortable. you know? And so it's just that. It's like sometimes it pays well to put a ruse out, to put like a like a false face on, you know. So yeah, that one's simple. That one's not like that's not one that you're gonna use all the time, right? It's not good to always, because even that is like, if you continuously conceal your intentions are revealed, because it's like you're hiding something, and people tend to stray away from that just as much as anything else. So it's like you have to be truthful most of the time and sometimes, but it's like there are certain circumstances where you want to let someone think something else, so that when the time comes, they will have no idea. Right? When they show up to stop you from moving across state lines or whatever it is, you won't be there. Yeah, this is like no, we'll just go to the next one. Law 4. Always say less than necessary. When you're trying to impress people with words, the more you say, the more common you appear, and the less in control. Even if you are saying something banal. I think I'm saying that right. It will seem original if you make it vague, open-ended, and sphinx-like. Powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less. The more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish. And this one speaks for itself. I mean, it pays to be quiet, and it pays to just listen. Because it's like you do no wrong by just listening. Obviously you don't want to do it too much, right? It's say less than necessary. So say what's necessary, but just that, it's just so much more. I don't know. I think I don't have the Dao De Jing with me, but there's a verse in it. It's my favorite verse. I've said this before. 43. The most yielding thing in the world will overcome the most rigid. The most empty thing in the world will overcome the most full. From this comes a lesson. Stillness benefits more than action. Silence benefits more than words. And so I say. Oh, wait. And then it's, rare indeed are those who are silent. Rare indeed are those who are still. And so I say, rare indeed are those who obtain the bounty of this world. And so that's this, because if you just say everything you think, then the things that you say that have actual value will be overlooked. Because everything else you say is just, just random pass-by thoughts. And your opinion will bear much more weight if it's rarely said. Law 5. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Reputation is the cornerstone of power. Through reputation alone, you can intimidate and win. Once it slips, however, you are vulnerable and will be attacked on all sides. Make sure your reputation is unassailable. Always be alert to potential attacks and thwart them before they happen. Meanwhile, learn to destroy your enemies by opening holes in their own reputations. Then stand aside and let the public opinion hang them. So this I would say only applies to people who hold a position which is very socially weighted, right? So like if you're in, we'll say, politics as an example. If you're in politics and your reputation gets ruined, you're caught doing something awful, that's it for you. It's like that can destroy you, and like I don't know. This one's tough because it's like I would think it's honestly better to try and find yourself in a place where your reputation isn't as important, but also make your reputation pure. Like don't try and fake your reputation. You know, like, don't try and own up to things you don't do, just do them. Like, build a good reputation. And then also, don't be in a space where it's like, if you do one person wrong, or if you slip up in a way that isn't going to hurt anybody, but some people wouldn't like it, you don't want to be in that position where it's like, you then have to fake your reputation to keep your position to people that you don't even like. You know, so be wary of reputation. And the Tao Te Ching says that as well. It's like, it says something like, the more you own, or one's own reputation, why the fuss? One's own belongings. I don't know. Something about like, the more you have, the more you have to worry about. Something of that line. So we'll go to Law 6. Court attention at all cost. Everything is judged by its appearance. What is unseen counts for nothing. Never let yourself get lost in the crowd, then or buried in oblivion. Stand out. Be conspicuous at all costs. Make yourself a magnet of attention by appearing larger, more colorful, more mysterious than the bland and timid masses. This one, again, is only useful in, if you have a ladder to climb and there's someone above you, let's say like basketball, right? You want to be good in basketball. You can't just, you have to do like, or like boxing. Fighting is a good example. Like, you can't just be a boring fighter. Like, you can't just go in there and, or you have to be special. You know what I mean? It's just that. It's like, special people always outshine average people, you know? And so it's like, find something about you that's special and just capitalize on it and just progress on it and move on it. Because it's like, being average and being normal and being less than great never got anybody anywhere, you know, above that. So it's like don't, because attention comes from not being average, right? You stick out when you get attention. So make that be through something that benefits all and you. We'll say that. As far as like moving that one into your life, because that one's kind of sounds, it could be misinterpreted for sure. And this one and Law 5 go well actually together, because it's like, your appearance, how you seem to everyone else, is very detrimental to how they will treat you. Because a lot of people are willing to let inside voices, or let outside voice, let inside voices is crazy. Let outside voices like affect how they think about you, right? And so someone will build a mental model of you based on what somebody else said, which is ultimately inaccurate, because it's like, no one else is going to know you better than you know you. And of course, through that method, some people will lie, but eventually you'll find out about that too. So it's like, if you're just patient enough to get to know everybody, you'll never have to trust anyone else's word on who this person is and be betrayed by that. So the truth is important in that sense of like build who you are out of truth, you know, so that people are willing to come straight to you rather than, you know, let other people build that mental model, you know. And so when you court attention, it kind of like, it builds that authentic version of yourself, right? So, yeah, if that makes sense. Law 7, I actually don't like this law. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Use the wisdom, knowledge, and legwork of other people to further your own cause. Not only will such assistance save you valuable time and energy, it will give you godlike aura of efficiency and speed. In the end, your helpers will be forgotten and you will be remembered. Never do yourself what others can do for you. So, again, this is only important once you put yourself in a position where your reputation and how people see you matters so much. Because in that case, let's say, you know, like one of the like big YouTubers, right? Like Mr. Beast. He's always doing these crazy videos, and it's like, how does he set this all up? It's like, he doesn't do it himself. He has a bunch of team and a bunch of people in a team working for him, which, he calls the shots, obviously, but it's like no one knows his team. No one knows his assistant or the people that help him, or, you know what I mean? It's like everyone just knows him. And so it's like he can do all these crazy things and, take most of the credit. Maybe some people know his team, but I've never heard of him. So that's like not useful to most. And another thing is that I think that when you understand all these laws, you'll see that the people who use this law the most are typically very inauthentic and don't actually know how to do enough by themselves. Because people who are efficient can like translate that to all areas of their life, and they don't need to make people slave away for them to get that done. It's like if you have everyone else do the work for you and they are suddenly taken away and you depend on them too much, you're not worth anything by yourself. So I would say this law can weaken you for sure. And it also can point you out as well. Like if you're constantly getting a lot done, but nobody knows how you do it, it's like, or I guess like people can also notice like using people is not a good thing to do. So it's like people can notice that, and then that can ruin your reputation or such like that. So I don't know. I don't like that one. I think you should just I think anything that you could have someone else do, you could do for yourself. And I get it to like a degree. If you're a billionaire and you're running a business and you want a chef, that makes perfect sense. But, it's like situationally, draw that out as you need. But Law 8, make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. When you force the other person to act, you are the one in control. It is always better to make your opponent come to you, abandoning his own plans in the process. Lure him with fabulous gains, then attack. You hold the cards. This is again like just kind of like another war tactic, essentially. And this is beneficial though, because it's like you never want to be caught chasing something. You want everything to seem flawless and flowing towards your direction. Because tons of effort either makes you look like the underdog or makes you look like you're trying too hard, I guess, in a sense. So, yeah, this one, the use bait if necessary is like, I don't know, his tactics this one's very situational. Rarely ever. This one's like a basketball player might need this one, right? Use bait if necessary. Like, maybe you're doing slow dribbles, and then as soon as they reach, boom, you're gone. Or like I got a low guard in boxing. I got a low guard, and then as soon as they jab, stick them. So that one's beneficial. I like that one, actually. Law 9, win through actions, never through argument. Any momentary triumph you think you have gained through argument is really a Pyrrhic victory. The resentment and ill will you stir up is stronger and lasts longer than any momentary change of opinion. It is much more powerful to get others to agree with you through your actions, without saying a word. Demonstrate. Do not explicate. I've never heard that. Explicate. That's good. This one is important because no matter how oftentimes you're right in an argument, people will still doubt you, even if it's through your words, no matter what. And so if you can just continually prove yourself through actions, you're creating undeniable proof of what you are and what you're willing to do as well. And so that's very important because that gives your word strength as well. So this is that thing of like, if you're constantly arguing all the time instead of just doing it, the one time you do choose to argue, it will have so much weight, and you probably will not, it's like, it's like sometimes argument is necessary. Sometimes you have to defend yourself verbally. But if you never do, it's like you seem like you have the upper hand because it's like it's important enough for you to argue about. You're probably not wrong, kind of thing. Which in this situation it would be true because you act through your actions. So like make that part genuinely you, and the second part of you won't even have to argue. That will come second. So that one is good. That one is good. That one just gives you power over people's perception of you. It gives you it instills a trust in other people and in yourself, of yourself. Like you trust yourself and other people trust you more because you don't just yap about it, you do it. So that's a good one. Law 10. I love this law. Gotta say. Infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. You can die from someone else's misery. Emotional states are as infectious as diseases. You may feel you are helping the drowning man, but you are only precipitating your own disaster. The unfortunate sometimes draw misfortune on themselves. They will also draw it on you. Associate with the happy and fortunate instead. And so this is so true. It's like if you're around someone who's constantly putting themselves in danger or bad situations, or they're constantly unhappy, or they're constantly, there's always an issue, get as far away from that person as you possibly can. Because that's simply their view on life. Like, not everything can be a problem. It's impossible for it to be that way. Like, life is not wired that way. And once you realize not everything is a problem, you start seeing what's actually a problem, and then you fix it. And so, steer so clear of people that make everything an issue or have a problem with everything, or those people who are always annoyed, those people who can't just take a hit, right? Like, sometimes you just have to pick up the slack and not say a word about it. It's not always about what's right. It's not always about, oh, but I was only supposed to do this, and oh, that's not fair. That's, it's like, don't make a problem of everything. It reduces your, it's just a waste. That's it. And it's very infectious, when you always have a problem with everything, you spread that to everyone around you because everyone else starts looking for a problem, because that's kind of how the human mind is wired. We're very much problem solvers. So stay away from those people, trying to ignore them. If you have one in your life, just block them out, move on. And that's the best thing you can do for those kind of people, because they'll understand, oh, like, you can make drastic change. And I don't just have to sit here and complain about everything. And not the whole world isn't against me. I can actually change my life and my circumstances. Law 11. Learn to keep people dependent on you. To maintain your independence, you must always be needed and wanted. The more you are relied on, the more freedom you have. More people depend on you for their happiness and prosperity. You have nothing to fear. Never teach them enough so that they can do without you. And actually, I'm watching a really good show called Prison Break right now. And it's about this guy who goes into prison, and his brother's on death row, and he's trying to escape the prison with his brother because his brother didn't actually commit the crime, and he knows that. So he goes in there, and he's actually doing a great job right now. He actually, I guess I won't spoil it if you haven't watched it, but there's this one inmate who ends up, camera self-recording. But back to what I was saying, there is one inmate who, we hate this guy, bro. He's such a weirdo. He was arrested. He's in prison for murdering children and stuff like that. He's a weirdo, right? But he always makes them need him. So first he learned about how they were going to get out. And then so he just threatened to tell them the whole time. And then finally, they're about to escape, and he calls his friend, and he's like, if I don't call you 20 minutes before and 5 minutes after, then call the prison and like bust the escape. And so it's like he just kept them dependent on him. And then right now, they've got like this map to $5 million, and all of them are looking for it. And he found it and he ate it, and he like memorized it and then he ate it. And he was like, if you want to get to the money, you got to use that. I'm your only way, because they want to kill him every chance they get. They're like, we don't like this guy. He's a weirdo. He's always trying to snake us. Like, we just got to get rid of him. But he continuously keeps them dependent on him, and so he has the power. Or one time they were going to kill him, and he just handcuffed himself to somebody else. And he was like, you're going to have to drag my corpse around if you do kill me. So, as much as I hate the character, he's very good at using this law. He always makes people dependent on him, and so they never can get rid of him. Which is the most annoying kind of person, but you gotta respect them for their hustle, I guess. But Law 12: use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. One sincere and honest move will cover over dozens of dishonest ones. Open-hearted gestures of honesty and generosity bring down the guard of even the most susceptible people. Once your selective honesty opens a hole in their armor, you can deceive and manipulate them at will. A timely gift, a Trojan horse, will serve the same purpose. So this is something to watch out for, because people do this all the time. People will give you things not in hope of giving you something, but in hope of removing something they did in the past, kind of making you forget about it, or maybe they're going to ask you for something soon, and they want you to kind of, not think, oh, this guy already owes me, but instead think, oh, well, he did give me that last week or whatever. So watch out for this, and watch out for selective honesty as well. Watch out for when people are only telling part of the truth. Because it's very easy to tell when someone is leaving something out, I feel like. Or skipping over details. It's a power game. So if you ask your significant other, let's say, why they came home 3 hours later than they were supposed to, and they start saying, oh, I was just, I stopped at a friend's house, and I had to drop something off, or, it's like, when they're not telling the complete honest truth of like, oh, I stopped at Jim's to drop off the Xbox controller, like, when it's not super honest and specific, it's like you got to be a little weary, because it might be selective honesty. So that if you were to say, oh, are you lying? Like, no, that's what I actually did. I'm just leaving out this part, But then it's like it averts them from the real truth, and it's a big, big power game that I feel like I see a lot of people use often. So, or a lot of people just wear a smile too, just try and soften you up, right? But like, they don't really like you. They don't really care about you. They'll do some weird stuff the second they get the chance. So, Law 13: when asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. If you need to turn to an ally for help, do not bother or remind him of your past assistance and good deeds. He will find a way to ignore you. Instead, uncover something in your request, in your alliance with him, that will benefit him, and emphasize it out of all proportion. He will respond enthusiastically when he sees something to be gained for himself. So this is like, let's say, this is like if I really want to go do something, and I know that, I'm trying to think of a scenario in which this would be useful. But, I mean, it's useful anytime you're asking for help, I mean, in the sense of, like, getting what you want, It's like, oh, I heard you really want food, right? If you drive, let's say I don't have a car. If you drive, I'll go get, we can stop and get food as long as you stop at this place, right? And so it's like, I'll get the food, right? You emphasize what they want, even though they don't want to maybe it's cold, it's blizzarding, whatever. Even though they don't want to leave, if you emphasize enough what they want, and you kind of add this like I'm down aspect, you kind of like push on, egg on what they want, you can also get what you want on the side with like agreement by that person. They'll be like, you know what, okay, deal. You know, like it'll be like they won't even notice that you have like put them onto it, right? So, and this is like, in my opinion, this is a pretty like fair kind of rule or like law, because it's like you don't also want to always be asking for something that never benefits anybody but yourself. Like if I'm constantly just having you drive somewhere when it's out of your way and I don't give you gas money, and you know, it's like when I become a burden to you is when I'm, you know, when I'm building something negative instead of positive. And so it's not necessarily entirely about power, but that's a good one to know and use. And especially when it's like someone doesn't like you maybe, you know, and you want to be like, well, I mean, I'm going there, you're going there, you know, I can help you do your thing if you just, you know, like you just coerce, kind of. Not coerce, but like, I don't know, coexist in your goal. Like you want to do that successfully. Law 14. Pose as a friend, work as a spy. This one, another one to watch out for. People do this all the time. I'm going to read the little paragraph real quick. Knowing about your role, your rival is critical. Use spies to gather valuable information that will keep you a step ahead. Play still. Play the spy yourself. In polite social encounters, learn to probe. Ask indirect questions to get people to reveal their weaknesses and intentions. There is no occasion that is not an opportunity for artful spying. Oh, man. These laws are going to make me sound crazy. Like, to try and elaborate on this as a useful topic is very tough, but a lot of people do this. A lot of people work as a spy to, you know, and they'll just pick up little information so that they can use it against you later on. So, I would say use this when you're around someone you like your enemies. You want to use this when you're around your enemies, you know? Like, act nice and a quaint foe, but it's like they're your enemy. You don't want to get, like, your end goal is to get rid of them in some shape or form, right? So it's like, if you can't do that in the moment, be cordial and just take in as much information as you can. Work as a spy. But as far as this one goes, I mean, a lot of people do this. They'll pose as a friend, but really they gain something out of it, and so they are more a spy than anything else. Law 15. Crush your enemy totally. All great leaders since Moses have known that a feared enemy must be crushed completely. Sometimes they have learned this the hard way. If one ember is left alight, no matter how dimly it smolders, a fire will eventually break out. More is lost through stopping halfway than through total annihilation. The enemy will never recover. The enemy will recover and seek revenge. Crush him, not only in body, but in spirit. This one is facts. I mean, there's any circumstance of it. I mean, if you leave your enemy, all you leave them with is bitterness and rage and revenge. If you leave them with something, you know, like if you're gonna really go after somebody or go after something, like take it all, you know. It's like in a fight, right? You don't want to beat someone by decision. You want to knock them out so that they know if they get in that room with you again, it's gonna happen again, you know. And so, because there's a lot of fights where it's like fighters will lose by decision, and they'll still have that fire in them. They'll still have like that, oh, but I went 5 rounds with him. Like maybe if I just trained harder, if I just watched more tapes, if I just did this or that, I can come back. And he beat me the first time, and he ruined my career, and I want to get him, you know. But it's like, if you just knock him out, if you just, you know, Conor McGregor, like, I mean, think about that fight, right? And for those of you who don't know, Conor McGregor is probably the biggest superstar in all of combat sports. He ran through the featherweight division. And when he got to the top, he was fighting Jose Aldo, the 10-year champion. He was the only featherweight division in the company's entire history. And he knocked him out in 13 seconds in the first round. Everyone doubted him. Everyone said that McGregor was going to lose that fight. And it wasn't even close. So, it's just that. It's like Aldo, like, there was never a rematch, nothing. Even though he was the champ, it's like, there's no question, you know? It's like he destroyed Aldo. He crushed him. And so there was no rebuttal. You know, he was able to move on to the next champ, Eddie Alvarez, who he also pieced up. Let me say, that was a good fight as well, but that's a good example. You know, crush your enemy totally. Don't let them, because you're letting them come back at you with the experience of already being in conflict with you, and then also with rage and revenge and all of those, you know, human emotions you really don't want to be in the crosshairs of. So, Law 16. Use absence to increase respect and honor. Too much circulation makes the price go down. The more you are seen and heard from, the more common you appear. If you've already established in a group, temporarily withdraw from it will make you be more talked about, even more admired. You must learn when to leave. Create value through scarcity. This is true. And a lot of people aren't conscious of their relationships with people. So like me, it's like absence won't always increase. I mean, it depends. The reasons you should be absent and are not just for this reason. So it's like, if you are constantly busy with other things, people who experience the withdrawal of you to those other things will respect you more, and you know, they'll view you as more honorable, because it's like he makes time for me, you know. He, even though he has all these other things going on, he finds a way to have me incorporated in all those things, and so it just raises respect. But it's like, if you don't have anything else going on, if you're always there all the time, it's like, am I just around, like, do they just have me around because they have nothing else to do, right? And so, like, it decreases the respect for you, and it's like, well, what are you really here for? And so, yeah, that's an important one. That's an important one. You want to use that one. Use absence. Yeah, it's important. I think a lot of people think this way. See, like, so there's two types of thinkers when it comes to people. There's people who make mental models, and there's people who live in the moment. So someone who makes a mental model of you will accrue all of your habits and your features and your, you know, your distinctions. They'll build a version of you in their mind, and they will play it over when they're with you. And so it's like, you are that person, and everything you do is just kind of like the puppet motions of the person they've created in their mind. And so when you act out of character, right, that's like you broke the mold. And so now I have to remake it, and that's what that experience is. But someone who lives in the moment will understand that you're not that character. You never could be. They can never confine you to a space in their mind. And so they're just going to take it moment by moment and be with who you are right now in front of them. And so those kind of people, absence won't necessarily increase respect and honor, because when you're not with them, they're just by themselves. They don't think about it that way. So know who you're dealing with, and know, like, is this person creating a mental model of me that they can get annoyed with? Because also, if you're not continually going by some people's mental model, it will upset them, and they won't like it, and they'll treat you differently because of it. So that's why this absence is important, because some people have a mental model of you that they can grow tired of, even though it's not you, and that's not necessarily your fault, but you don't want to suffer the consequences. So there's that. Law 17. Keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. Humans are creatures of habit, with an insatiable need to see familiarity in other people's actions. The predictability gives them a sense of control. Turn the tables. Be deliberately unpredictable. Behavior that seems to have no consistency or purpose will keep them off balance, and they will wear themselves out trying to explain your moves. Taken to an extreme, this strategy can intimidate and terrorize. And I like this rule or this law because when you're unpredictable, people kind of just like they leave you alone. Like when they don't know what you're gonna do next, it's those mental model people actually that I just explained. When those mental model people find someone unpredictable, they stay away from them, actually. Because if they can't build a mental model for you, you're going to stress them out. Because you're unpredictable. They don't know what you're going to do, so they feel like they're on shaky ground whenever they're around you. And I don't like those people as it is. I think those mental model people it's a very egoistic approach to the world, to build everything around you as something that exists purely in your mind and then in reality. When in reality it's like you're existing in this, this like immersive thing where it's like me and everything else in me. It's not like I'm not, the world isn't just all my constructs. The world is the world. No matter what constructs I put on it, so I might as well not put any. That's the way I see it, and that's the way like the Buddhist and the Taoist, that's how they see it. You want to derive from these constructs, and so that's also the people that's like the unlucky people that we were talking about, the unlucky people, the unhappy people. They'll build constructs of the things that have been happening to them, or the things that have happened to them, and they'll only keep certain ones and they'll throw away others so that they feel like they have this big collection of mishaps or of accidents or of awful things, but it's like they're just building mental models of the wrong perspective. So, this one is good if you want to only find those people who are in the moment and those people who are willing to tolerate that life isn't always going to go the way they want. Because those are good people usually. Those are, Taoists by nature, we'll say. So, not necessarily keep others in suspended terror, but definitely cultivate an air of unpredictability. So that you can weed out people who want to predict what you're doing, because that's like, why would someone want to do that unless they have some sort of ill will against you? Or, I mean, it could be positive as well, but like if you want to find out if someone's trustworthy or loyal, but that's different. So, do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. The world is dangerous, and enemies are everywhere. Everyone has to protect themselves. A fortress seems the safest, but isolation exposes you to more dangers than it protects you from. It cuts you off from the valuable information. It makes you conspicuous and an easy target. Better to circulate among people, find allies, mingle. You are shielded from your enemies by the crowd. So this is like in a very competitive setting. You don't want to be the only one. You don't want to be the odd duck out, because everyone will kind of paint a bullseye on your back without you knowing it. And so this is like, I'm trying to think, kind of like in Prison Break, in the show that I'm watching in prison. I mean, as far as the show, I've not been in prison obviously, but as far as the show, you don't want to be by yourself in prison, because it's like then they'll just, anyone can do what they want to you because they're in groups and they're in packs. They're in, they hide behind each other so that you won't necessarily, you can't retaliate because you're retaliating against all of them. So then they can act what they want because they're acting in the spirit of all of them, right? So it's better to just blend in with the people who can protect you best while having to commit the least. It's like you don't want to stand out too much. It's like, again, it's that idea of like, don't outshine the master. Don't be that odd one out. Be the wolf in sheepskin. Be the, blend in. You don't want to let them see too much of what you're doing, or they'll try and take you out. Is essentially what this law is saying. I mean, it's not like cut in stone, but take it as it goes and apply it where it needs to be applied. But also there are some situations in which if you have a strong mind and you're capable, you can isolate yourself, and it's okay that everyone else knows, Unplug my mic on accident. I hope that's not going to be a pain to edit in, but we'll figure that out. That was law 18. We're going to go law 19. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. There are many different kinds of people in the world, and you can never assume that everyone will react to your strategies the same way. Deceive or outmaneuver some people, and they will spend the rest of their lives seeking revenge. They are wolves in lamb's clothing. Choose your victims and opponents carefully. Then, never offend or deceive the wrong person. This one's true. I mean, you don't want to offend or wrong someone above you, or someone, we all know these kind of people. It's like the people who are just like a motherfucker to deal with, so it's like you're just super cordial with them, because even if you get on the tiniest bit of their bad side, they're going to fucking make a big deal about it. They're going to turn everyone against you. They're going to, it's like they hold some power. So know who you're dealing with, because if someone holds power and they don't like you, they'll use it against you. So that one's pretty simple. Law 20, do not commit to anyone. It is the fool who always rushes to take sides. Do not commit to any side or cause but yourself. Maintaining your independence, you become the master of others, playing people against one another, making them pursue you. This one is important when two people are at tension against each other and you're good with both of them, but they want you to pick a side. It's sometimes best to just kind of play around in the middle and never really pick a side, because you don't want to pick the losing side, right? So if you're ever stuck in that kind of situation, don't let them trip up on each other. Let them show you, and you'll know that moment where it's like, okay, now I can pick this side because they're clearly going to win. So, Law 21, play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark. No one likes feeling stupider than the next person. The trick, then, is to make your victims feel smart. And not just smart, but smarter than you are. Once convinced of this, they will never suspect that you may have ulterior motives. This one can be used in a lot of different areas, right? So it's like at work, like if you seem like you're the hardest worker in the room, they're gonna overuse you. They're gonna work you harder than someone who's a bad worker, but you're gonna get paid the same, So it's like sometimes being smart is just gonna get you clipped. It's just gonna get you used more. It's gonna cause you more effort and less reward. So sometimes it's better to just I don't know, just I don't know your way through some things. But Law 22, use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. When you are weaker, never fight for honor's sake. Choose surrender instead. Surrender gives you time to recover, time to torment and irritate your conqueror, time to wait for his power to wane. Do not give him the satisfaction of fighting and defeating you. Surrender first. By turning the other cheek, you infuriate and unsettle him. Make surrender a tool of power. So this is a good one, because it's like sometimes there's battles you don't want to fight, and sometimes you want to argue for the sake of your honor, but sometimes silence makes the other person look stupid, and that will make them upset, and that will drive them to do something ignorant, and then you can strike. But it's like sometimes just waiting and being calm and being patient and being silent or surrendering can lead to the ultimate victory. So be patient there. And this is like the pulling the chair tactic in basketball. If anyone listening plays basketball, they know that when you're in the paint and someone's bumping up against you, if they go to bump you and you move, they're going to fall over because they hit nothing. So it's kind of like that. Law 23, concentrate your forces. Conserve your forces and energies by keeping them concentrated at their strongest point. You gain more by finding a rich mine and mining it deeper than from flitting from one shallow mine to another. Intensity defeats extensity every time. When looking for sources of power to elevate you, find the one key patron, the fat cow who will give you milk for a long time to come. I mean, this is good. This is good until you lose, right? But as a method of winning, this is very good. So concentrate your forces. It's like if I'm boxing someone, let's say shorter than me, right? I'm just going to want to put all of my power into my jab. Like, I'm just going to want to jab his face off because he can't get close to me, And he might have strength and he might have power, but if he can't get close to me, none of it's going to matter, And so just concentrate everything I have into landing this jab over and over and over and over again until I find a better weakness that I can attack off of the jab. So, or even like if someone has a big thing surrounding them, someone has a big defense, all you need is one hole in the wall to get through, one hole in the fence and you're in. You don't always, so it's like that big defense isn't always the best. That big, airy, because someone who is willing and able to concentrate and move like a team and just get in there and get the job done and get out is always going to win. They'll always win out. Always. So. Law 24. Play the perfect courtier. Play the perfect, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Courtier? Something like that. Thrives in a world when everything revolves around power and political dexterity. He has mastered the art of an indirection. He flatters, he yields to superiors, and asserts power over others in the most oblique and graceful manner. Learn and apply the laws of courtship, and there will be no limit to how far you can rise in the court. This is important. You don't want to be the guy that everyone disagrees with. You don't want to be the person that that isolation is dangerous, right? It's like you don't want to, because the opposite of this law is you don't really mess with anybody, and so when something bad goes down, they're quick to point fingers at you, But if you're friends with 2 or 3 people and everything goes down, it's like at least you have people who will point with you. Like, no, that wasn't us. That wasn't, So you don't want to be the lone wolf that gets ganged up on. Law 25, recreate yourself. Do not accept the rules society foists on you. Recreate yourself by forging a new identity, one that commands attention and never bores the audience. Be the master of your own image rather than letting others define it for you. Incorporate dramatic devices into your public gestures and actions. Your power will be enhanced and your character will seem larger than life. This one's powerful in the sense of it can really just change you. Like, if you're someone who doesn't work out, you don't eat healthy, you don't do what you're supposed to do, you can change that in an instant, in a day. Like, you can just instantly change and start doing the things you need to do rather than doing only what you want to do. And so recreating yourself can be a powerful tool to change your life. There's that good saying that says, if nothing changes. So it's like, if you want something to change who you are and what you do, and that in turn will change everything around you. Byproduct of it being your life. So, Law 26. Keep your hands clean. You must seem a paragon of civility and efficiency. Your hands should never be soiled by mistakes and nasty deeds. Maintain such a spotless appearance by using others as scapegoats and cat pawns to disguise your involvement. This one actually kind of you can follow this ladder. You can use this law to find people who use this law. So it's like, if someone seems too good to be true, if someone seems like they never do anything wrong, if someone seems like they're always in the right place at the right time and they never get in trouble and they're always, their work's always done, they never make a mistake, watch them a little bit. Notice what they do and who they talk to, and notice, because most times it's like no one's perfect and everyone makes mistakes. So if someone doesn't make any mistakes, they're either extremely efficient or they use other people very often to do their deeds and they take credit for it. So, or they don't at least give credit to that person. So that one's watch for people that do that, use that kind of method. Because when someone's playing a power game, it's usually pretty simple and easy to find out shortly after what they want the power for. So that's the use of that law is you want to find out who's playing a power game and why. So, because you don't want to be a pawn in anyone's power game. Pawns get off the board real quick. So, Law 27. Play on people's need to create a cult-like following. People have an overwhelming desire to believe in something. Become the focal point of such a desire by offering them a cause, a new faith to follow. Keep your words vague but full of promise. Empathize enthusiasm over rationality and clear thinking. Give your new disciples rituals to perform. Ask them to make sacrifices on your behalf. In the absence of organized religion and grand causes, your new belief system will bring you untold power. It's interesting because that's actually happening today. Keep your words vague but full of promise. Empathize enthusiasm over rationality and clear thinking. I think a lot of people think like that. A lot of people are very... Like, it's a good way to take over people, is to just, like say some... Like, I guess we use that in politics, right? So, like the president will come out and say, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. I want to make America great again, right? Which, like, makes you feel this kind of way and makes you, it's full of promise, but it's not really specific, because it's like, what would that really take, And so, yeah, that's actually that's a good example because, like, I mean, the Make America Great thing, there was the insurgents, there was all this, like, people really follow him, they believe in Trump. And so that's kind of a good example of that. So, Law 28. Enter action with boldness. If you are unsure of course of action, do not attempt it. Your doubts and hesitations will infect your execution. Timidity is dangerous. Better to enter with boldness. Any mistakes you commit through audacity are easily corrected with more audacity. Everyone admires the bold. No one honors the timid. This is true in almost all situations. You want to be bold. You want to be confident. You don't want to be scared in everything you do. It will not only mess you up, but you won't be trusted to do anything worthwhile. So don't be timid. Be bold. Even if you're scared, do it with a straight face. There's no benefit to being scared and timid in action or in times of necessary action. So just grab your balls and get it done. Law 29, plan all the way to the end. The ending is everything. Plan all the way to it, taking into account all the possible consequences, obstacles, and twists of fortune that might reverse your hard work and give the glory to others. By planning to the end, you will not be overwhelmed by circumstances and you will know when to stop. Gently guide fortune and help determine the future by thinking far ahead. This is very important. If you're planning to do something, plan all the way to the end. Plan all the way until, and it's like if there's repercussions, plan for those, plan because that's the true end, is when there's no repercussions to what you've done or whatever you plan to do, so it's like, that's important because, I mean, a misstep in the plan is just makes the entire plan pointless. So if you're going to plan anything, plan it all the way to the end. Make it very concise and clear. Law 30. But there is a verse in the Tao Te Ching that I love that was like, if you want to take over a country, have a great plan. If you want to take over the universe, have no plan at all. Or something like that. But it's essentially saying that, like, having no plan is the best plan because the universe loves you and wants you to win and will always have your best interests in mind. And so you don't need to plan. That might be against what's best for you. So keep those both in mind and, distinguish them. Law 30. Make your accomplishments seem effortless. Your actions must seem natural and executed with ease. All the toil and practice that go into them, and also all the clever tricks, must be concealed. When you act effortlessly, as if you could do much more. Avoid the temptation of revealing how hard you work. It only raises questions. Teach no one your tricks, or they will be used against you. This one's important, honestly. Make your accomplishments seem effortless. You want everything to seem easy. You don't want... See, because let's say this. Let's say I'm fighting an opponent like Conor McGregor. He did not want, because he really wasn't going for Jose Aldo. He was planning to the end. He was going to be the double champ. He was going after Eddie Alvarez after Jose Aldo. So when he made Aldo look easy, he got the Alvarez fight right away because he made it seem effortless. Even though, Jose Aldo's an incredible fighter and a tank and a beast, and he made it look effortless. And so it raises him up, because it's like, had that been a long fight, even if he won, it would have raised questions. Can he go up? Can he beat Eddie Alvarez? Can he, it would have kind of tarnished his reputation. Whereas when he just knocks him out in 13 seconds, it's like he almost ruined Jose Aldo's reputation. Because what probably would have been one of the best fighters of all time got knocked out in 13 seconds. And so people kind of just, they kind of took his flowers away almost. And it's sad to see, but at the same time, like, Conor deserves everything that he has. So make your accomplishments seem effortless can be important. Because you never want your enemies to see that you're struggling, Law 31. Control the options. Get others to play the cards you deal. The best deceptions are the ones that seem to give the other person a choice. Your victims feel like they are in control, but are actually your puppets. Give people options that come out in your favor, whichever one you choose. Force them to make choices between the lesser of two evils, both of which serve your purpose. Put them in the harms of dilemma. They are gored wherever they turn. So this one is very... When you are dealing with someone who, you have to give something to. Like, okay, the best example I can think of is, like, let's say I grew up with brothers, right? And let's say I've got two brothers. My mom brings home, or I go to the store with my mom and we get 6 suckers, right? We get 2 suckers for everybody. And then I come home and I show them 3 suckers. And I say, here you go. You guys can choose which ones you want first. And I put, I know their favorite flavors because they're my brothers. So I put their 2 favorite flavors in there and I hide the other 3. And they think in their mind, oh, I have the illusion of choice. I'm getting the better end of the deal here. But really, I have 3 more suckers in my pocket that I'm hiding from them. They just don't know. So it's like, or like, I heard this one story of this kid he was going to play video games for, it was like a company or something. Like, he was going to get paid to play video games. And he had like a manager. And the manager told him, hey, I have an offer for you. You can make $300 an hour. I think you should take it. And really, the deal was for like $1,000 an hour. But his manager knew, like, okay, if everything's going to go through me, I can tell him 300, give him 300, and then take the 700. And that's what he did. And so, like, it's obviously fucked up to do that. But it's like, if you ever find yourself in that situation and you want to get out of it with all that you can, that would be the way to do it. Law 32. Play to people's fantasies. The truth is often avoided because it is ugly and unpleasant. Never appeal too much truth in reality unless you are prepared for the anger that comes from the disenchantment. Life is so harsh and distressing that people who can manufacture romance or conjure up fantasies are like oasis in the desert. Everyone flocks to them. There is a great power in tapping into the fantasy of the masses. So this is like... Well, I mean, it's true. Reality is just usually it's just ugly and full of facts, and it's like you can't really escape the nature of reality, which is really raw and can hurt sometimes, oftentimes. And so when you can play to someone's idea of the world, you can kind of it's like someone's playing a 2D game, but you can see everything in 3D, So you can kind of lead them to places that only you can see because you're seeing it from a different perspective, from the perspective of reality. But you can understand their fantasy, so you can also kind of lead them in a direction they don't even know. So that's the use there in the law of power. But, I mean, I like the truth. I would never do that, but that's how you'd want to use it if you want power, I guess. And people often, it's important to see this between two people or between a group of people? Like, are they playing to each other's fantasies and avoiding the fact that they don't like each other, they don't agree, or whatever it is, and they're just trying to, live in like this fantasy world of like, I like you, you like me, we get along. It's important to like be able to see that, like, oh, they're just playing to each other's fantasies to kind of keep each other around to benefit from whatever they're benefiting for. Law 33. Discover each man's thumbscrew. Everyone has a weakness, a gap in the castle wall. That weakness is usually an insecurity, an uncontrollable emotion or need. It can also be a small secret pleasure, but either way, once found, it is a thumbscrew you can use to your advantage. I mean, that one's pretty self-explanatory, Everyone has something that, like, pisses them off or, like, it angers them in some way or, whatever it does. And so if you can find that little thing, and you can just kind of, use it at will, make someone mad or, whatever, calm someone down or whatever it is, you can kind of use that to your, whenever it would benefit you. But, and also understanding your own thumbscrew and understanding, like, do people do this to me? That's a big part of that rule, that law. Law 34. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. The way you carry yourself will often determine how you are treated. In the long run, appearing vulgar or common will make people disrespect you. For a king respects himself and inspires the same sentiment in others. By acting regally, regularly, I don't know how to say this word here. It's R-E-G-A-L-L-Y. Regularly? I've never heard of that word. And confident in your powers regularly. It's probably like some sort of like it's normal. It's nothing. It's kind of like, it's what you do. It's like a different form of confidence. You make yourself seem destined to wear a crown. So this is so true. It's like, even if you're not there yet, even if you think that you might lose the fight that you're about to get into, you better sound like the best fighter that there ever was. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes acting like what you want to be can not just work on you, but everybody else. And they'll just kind of treat you like that. So, because also it works in the same manner. If you act like a bum, you're going to get treated like a bum. So, act like a king. Or there's this great saying that says, walk like the king or walk like you don't give a fuck who the king is. And it's just that. Law 35. Master the art of timing. Never seem to be in a hurry. Hurrying betrays a lack of control betrays a lack of control over yourself and over time. Always seem patient, as if you know everything that will come to you eventually. Become a detective of the right moment. Sniff out the spirit of the times, the trends that will carry you to power. Learn to stand back when the time is not yet ripe, and strike fiercely when it has reached fruition. This is just important. You just don't want to seem like you're a victim to time. You want to be on time. You want to be patient. You want to be, you want it to seem like you never have to, reach out in a hurry for things. They just come to you because you're patient enough to, which they will if you're patient enough. So, Law 36. Disdain things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge. By acknowledging a petty problem, you give it existence and credibility. The more attention you pay an enemy, the stronger you make him. And a small mistake is often made worse and more visible when you try and fix it. It is sometimes best to leave things alone. If there's something you want but cannot have, show contempt for it. The less interest you reveal, the more superior you seem. And so this is like, when you make a mistake, just move on. The more attention you give your mistake, the more attention everyone else is going to give your mistake. So, you fuck up, just keep going. And then disdain things you cannot have. This is super important. I mean, if you really want to get anywhere in life, you're going to have to understand that there are some things you can't have around. If you want to be a good athlete, you're probably going to have to cut out drinking. You're going to have to cut out, I mean, that's probably it. But, I think that's just like the one thing that we've normalized in this society that should not be normalized. Alcohol. I think it's so bad. It just not worth it. It destroys you. It tastes like shit. I mean, it's the devil's work. Trying to stay away from that, but so it's like when you can't have something, learn to kind of hate it and make an enemy of it. Because it's like I can't. If you're friendly with something that you want, you're gonna eventually try and get at it. But if you kind of just like, if you're just like fuck that, like maybe there's a girl you like, but she's not good for you. She's singing the alphabet, or she just like doesn't know how to act. Whatever it is, she's not good for you. Learn to just like not like her at all. Learn to hate her if you have to, but don't flirt with her and hang around her and like I would but I can't, like don't ever do that kind of thing. Same with girls too. Like if there's a guy who's like he fucks with you but he doesn't fuck with you enough, just don't fuck with him. Just hate him. Because like eventually what you need is going to come along and it'll be much better that you hate what you can't have so you can take full advantage of what you really do want. So that one's important. And if you can't have something, why care for it anyway? Like just like learn to make an enemy of the things that you can't have. Because like drinking or like partying, like I never party. I just work all the time. Studying, learning, watching videos, so it's like I have kind of like created an enemy of that. Like I don't like to drink. I don't like to party. I don't do that shit. I don't, I'm focused. I got stuff I'm trying to build. I got stuff I'm trying to work on. I can't do that right now. So I've kind of like grown a hate for it that has like kept me positively away from it because I'm more inclined to say no because it's what I should do than say yes, which is what maybe I want to do. Law 37, create compelling spectacles. Striking imagery and grand symbolic gestures create the aura of power. Everyone responds to them. Stage the spectacles for those around you, full of arresting visuals and radiant symbols that heighten your presence. Dazzled by appearances, no one will notice what you're really doing. So, this one's pretty self-explanatory. You just create fireworks so no one sees what you're doing below. Like, make all these grand gestures and all of these it's like when you can do big things, people think big things of you. It's that simple. So, Law 38. Think as you like, but behave as others. If you make the show of going against the times, flaunting your unconventional ideas in unorthodox ways, people will think that you only want attention and that you look down upon them. They will find a way to punish you for making them feel inferior. It is safer to blend in with the nurture of the common touch. Share your originality only with tolerant friends and those who are sure to appreciate your uniqueness. So this is actually unlike what I'm doing right now. Because I'm actually making a podcast of just like purely bettering yourself. So obviously like people who don't like, I don't know, because it's like a lot of the stuff I preach on here, a lot of people I feel like don't like or will not do. Like Tate, not a lot of people like Tate. That was a big thing. So, I guess if I was truly in line with this law, I would have made that Tate podcast, right? But like, I don't think that law is too important. I think it's okay to stand out. I think it's okay because also that's the only way you're ever going to really find people like you who stand out, So stay a little close to the group, but, be aware, like those are really my people over there. So, like, if I get the chance, me and them, we're gone. We're out of here. Because we are different, and we don't fuck with the rest of you. So, Law 39, stir up waters to catch fish. Anger and emotion are strategically counterproductive. You must always stay calm and objective. But if you can make your enemies angry while staying calm yourself, you gain a decided advantage. Put your enemies off balance. Find the chink in their vanity through which you can rattle them and hold their strings. People will use this to manipulate you a lot. They will wait until they'll find little things about you that they think they can upset you with. They'll wait until you're in a setting around people that you're in competition with in terms of like reputation and who's better, and then they'll use them against you to try and make you angry. So people will try and make you angry in front of other people, or in argument, they'll try and make you upset so that you say something that you shouldn't have, or or so that you slip up, and then they can all of a sudden flip something that was probably about them onto you. So that's how that law is used. People will, purposefully create drama so that you will make a mistake, and then they'll capitalize off of that. Law 40, despise the free lunch. What is offered for free is often dangerous. It usually involves either a trick or hidden obligation. What is worth paying for? What has worth is worth paying for. By paying your way, you stay clear of gratitude, guilt, and deceit. It is often wise to pay the full price. There is no cutting corners with excellence. Be lavish with your money and keep it circulating, for generosity is a sign and a magnet for power. This one is important. I mean, so many people will give you free stuff and give you this and give you that and give only because they intend to take from you subtly or slowly or in some grand way later on. So it's important to despise the free lunch, buy what you can when you can, don't get caught up getting free things from everybody, and owing everybody in unspoken debt, So it's better to just feel gratitude free and know that, like, okay, I paid my way through all this. I don't owe anything to any of you. Law 41. Avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. What happens first always appears better and more original than what comes after. If you succeed a great man or have a famous parent, you will have to accomplish double their achievements to outshine them. Do not get lost in their shadow or stuck in a past not of your own making. Establish your own name. Identify by changing course. Slay the overbearing father, disparage his legacy, and gain power by shining in your own way. This one's important. I mean, you don't ever want to step into shoes that you can't fill, especially when it comes in form of accomplishment. Muhammad Ali has a son, right? And it's like everyone expects so much of him. They expect double of him what they would expect from any other boxer just because he's Ali's son, But it's like he's not Ali. Yeah, they have the same genetics, but it's like he didn't, he can't just transfer down his fighting mind. Like he's still his own person. So when you step into a great man's shoes, great responsibilities will be thrust upon you. But if you can fill a great man's shoes successfully, right? So let's say there's a great man, but you got it like that. You're the greater man. Step into him. Fill those shoes and some, Make sure they forget about him. That's kind of like Conor McGregor, right? The featherweight champion, right? It's like he wanted to take that role of the featherweight champion of the world, the great man's shoes, and he did it in such a fashion that it's like it didn't even matter, because maybe he beats Aldo, and people might still say Aldo's better than him. Plenty of people still say Aldo's better than him, or they'll try and rank him higher or lower than Aldo on like pound for pound rankings and stuff. But it's like all those 10 years Aldo was fighting, and Conor came and whooped his ass. So it's tough. It's tough to, it's tough in both scenarios. But just be very aware of the position you might be filling. Law 42. Strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. Trouble can often be traced to a single strong individual. The stirrer, the arrogant underling, the poisoner of goodwill. If you allow such people room to operate, others will succumb to their influence. Do not wait for the troubles they cause to multiply. Do not try to negotiate with them. They are irredeemable. Neutralize their influence by isolating or banishing them. Strike at the source of trouble, and the sheep will scatter. So this is like that kind of person who gets everyone to turn against you, right? They're using their little pawns, their little drama pawns, and they're spitting things that are going to make them see you in a negative light, But if you come straight to them, and you're straight and you're honest and you're direct and you're kind, and you disobey their words directly in front of them, and you isolate them and force them to tell the truth, their power is instantly gone and lost. So being straightforward sometimes when you feel like you're being, when you feel like everyone's ganging up on you, search for the one, the spark that started the fire. Put that shit out. Law 43. Work on the hearts and minds of others. Coercion creates a reaction that will eventually work against you. You must seduce others into wanting to move in your direction. A person you have seduced will become loyal to your pawn. Will become your loyal pawn. I can't read. And the way to seduce others is to operate on their individual psychologies and weaknesses. Soften up the resistant by working on their emotions, playing on what they hold dear and what they fear. Ignore the hearts and minds of others, and they will grow to hate you. So this is like, you just don't want to be that guy who just doesn't care, because again, it's like you become that outlier. You become isolated. You become the person they're willing to blame if something goes terribly wrong. You want to be on good terms with everybody, essentially, is what this law is saying. And you don't want to ignore the hearts and minds of others. Law 44, disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. The mirror effect reflects reality. The mirror reflects reality, but it is also a perfect tool for deception. When you mirror your enemies doing exactly as they do, they cannot figure out your strategy. The mirror effect mocks and humiliates them, making them overreact. By holding up a mirror to their psyches, you seduce them with the illusion that you share their values. By holding up a mirror to their actions, you teach them a lesson. Few can resist the power of the mirror effect. So this is like giving someone their own medicine. Like when someone does something and then you do it right back to them. They have no... it's like if you punch someone, you punch them back in the same spot. It's like, what are they going to do? What are they, like, they did it first, So it's like, it can be very disarming when you just give somebody exactly what they're giving. And they're like, oh, so that's what I am. It teaches them a lesson, just like the law said. So, Law 45. Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once. Everyone understands the need for change in the abstract, but on the day-to-day level, people are creatures of habit. Too much innovation is traumatic and will lead to revolt. If you are new to a position of power or an outsider trying to build a base, make a show of respect to the old way of doing things. If change is necessary, make it feel like a gentle improvement on the past. So this is actually, if you watch the episode before this, it's the allegory of the cave. And essentially this group of people that lived in a cave, they worshiped the shadows on the walls, and one guy escaped the cave. And when he came back and told them, like, hey, we're worshiping shadows, we live in a fucking hole in the ground, we can't escape and live in a nice sunny world upside, and they killed him. Because sometimes when you come out and you're like, everything is wrong, we have to fix everything right now, we have to, you make people panic, and then they'll just get rid of you and do things the way they were doing it before. But if that guy in the cave had, maybe led the next most curious person to the exit, right? Like made them accidentally find it themselves, and that they did the same thing, and you kind of like slowly led people. But instead of creating drastic change, you slowly led people outside the cave, and you just kind of bring them on one by one and little by little. It's much more gentle, and they're much more willing to change and see the upside, because it doesn't just destroy their entire reality. Law 46. Never appear too perfect. Appearing better than others is always dangerous, but most dangerous of all is to appear to have no faults or weaknesses. Envy creates silent enemies. It is smart to occasionally display defects and admit to harmless vices in order to deflect envy and appear more human and approachable. Only gods and the dead can seem perfect with impunity. That's so true. I mean, only gods and the dead can seem perfect. Like, if you seem perfect, people will try and find faults about you. Even if you just don't do anything wrong, like you're just a super genuine person who just doesn't step on people's toes and isn't a dick and is very honest in their apologies and genuine in their actions, people will just try and, like, wait for you to slip up, So, if you are a very good person, but you also kind of have... you kind of don't want to be seen. You want to move in the crowd. You don't want to stand out. Find a little flaw about yourself. Start yapping too much about a topic or something like just do something so that someone's like, oh, he's a great guy, but he talks too much, or he, it makes you blend in. It makes you less noticeable. Whereas a perfect person, it's like, oh yeah, Little Miss Perfect, like Little Miss, Mr. Never makes a mistake over there. People start to envy that and kind of hate that. So, Law 47, Do not go past the mark you aimed for in victory. Learn when to stop. The moment of victory is often the moment of greatest peril. In the heat of victory, arrogance and overconfidence can push you past the goal you had aimed for, and by going too far, you make more enemies than you defeat. Do not allow success to go to your head. There is no substitute for strategy and careful planning. Set a goal, and when you reach it, stop. This is very important. I mean, so many people have a goal that they aim for, and when they finally get there, they do too much, and they lose it, you know? And it's super simple. I'm just going to leave it at that, actually. I don't want to elaborate. It's very simple. You know, stop at the mark you aimed for. You got what you wanted. Get out, leave. If you're a day trader, I don't know if y'all know what that means. I'm not about to explain it, but if you're a day trader, you don't want to keep playing around in your profit margins. You want to take your profits and get out and wait for the next good setup. You don't want to stick around and, is it going to keep going? Is it going to keep going? Like, no. Hit your take profit, get out, partial close, do what you got to do, but just don't fuck around and find out, And stop at the mark you aimed for. Law 48. Assume formlessness. By taking shape, by having a visible plan, you open yourself to attack. Instead of taking form for your enemy to grasp, keep yourself adaptable and on the move. Accept the fact that nothing is certain and no law is fixed. The best way to protect yourself is to be as fluid and formless as water. Never bet on stability or lasting order. Everything changes. That one's very simple. I mean, don't get too caught up being one thing or another, because everything changes. No matter how right you think you are, you might not be right in 10 years or 5 years or even 5 minutes. So stay humble, stay changing, stay moving, because security and structure gives people something to aim at. And it also gives you, it gives you likes to give out, So with that, I mean, take all of those with a grain of salt and a bit of caution. Do not abuse these laws. Be a good person. This podcast was not meant to give you power over anybody or anything like that. You don't need power. The Tao is with you. God is on your side, and I do believe in the form of thinking that's like you don't need to have power, and you don't need to just constantly be thinking about gaining power over everybody. You don't need to be this monster that just tries and grabs hold of things and control them. Because you can gently guide things, and it will profit everybody much more, rather than just, forcing something and profiting yourself for a little while. Man, I wish I had the Tao Te Ching with me. There's a verse just like that. It's like, that which is gained through power will surely last some time. That which is gained through peace will surely last forever. Or like that which is gained through the method of the Tao or something like that. But it's just that. It's the difference between long-lasting and immortal. It's the difference between the mental model people and the living in the moment people. Like the line of the Tao exists in all things. And it exists in this book, and it exists in everything. Find it and walk it, because sometimes you need to make mental models of people. Sometimes people are bad people, and you need to understand, even if in the moment they seem like they're telling the truth or they seem like they're being nice, they have been lying for the past 10 years of their life. They've been stealing for the last 10 years of their life. They're going to fucking steal again. And I'm not going to be the victim of it. So find the balance. Sometimes there's time to fight, and there's time to run, and then there's also times where just having your sword in its sheath is enough. Just seeing people seeing you and noticing that you have the ability to do something creates a respect, So it's like, discern all of these rules. And if I had to word it anyway, I'd word it how I just did. Find that line in the Tao. Find that middle path, the path of least resistance, the way that you need to go to get to where you're going. Find that and walk it carefully. But I hope this was a good one. I'm beat. It's really early in the morning, but I'm up. I'm grinding. Trying to get some episodes done for y'all. I'm very sad that I ripped my book, but more episodes coming. I've got one on. I've got a lot. I've got a lot of ideas, so they'll be coming soon. If you don't have me on any social media, I have a TikTok, but it's like my personal. Maybe I'll start posting like updates on there, but we've got the Patreon. Episodes go up on there before they're uploaded, so it's early access. We've got a group chat. We've got even some podcasts I haven't posted on Spotify. So Spotify or YouTube. So subscribe to the YouTube, turn on your post notifications for Spotify, and as far as the posting schedule, instead of every Friday, which is what I was doing prior, I'm just gonna record these episodes as much as I can and get them out as soon as I can. So I've noticed the schedule doesn't really work for me. So if you see I haven't posted in a while, don't worry, something's coming, and know that it'll probably be more like 2 or 3 episodes a week from here on out, as long as I'm not doing anything too crazy busy or anything. This week should be good. Hopefully I'll get a lot of episodes in this week. And so, yeah, I'll see you later. I wish you all the best. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode.